Good evening. Thank you all for attending this webinar hosted by SAICI and Baker Baynes. This event is sponsored by Perry. We are excited this afternoon to hear from our speakers who will be presenting on BIM and its necessity in the South African civil engineering industry. My name is Kuben Govender. I am a professional civil engineering technologist, a corporate member of SAICI, and a member of the Water Division Committee in charge of training and education. And I'm also the chair of the SAICI IT Division. SAICI's mission is to provide for the engineering interests and needs of its members, to facilitate sustainable quality of life together with the responsible utilization of natural and human resources. Our objectives are the growth and development of its members in the promotion of the general advancement of the science and practice of civil engineering. We also aim to foster transformation in the civil engineering sector through skills and professional development. Therefore, our focus is on development and promotion of the civil engineering profession. You are welcome to visit the IT division website to view our vision and focus, which is very much aligned to that of SAICI's, however, more focused on the adoption of new technologies in our industry. SAICI appreciates and thanks our sponsor, Perry, for making it possible to host this event. We have a short video that introduces Perry, which we will now view before I introduce you to our presenter. So here we go.
Can you imagine a world without construction? No towering skyscrapers, no immaculate bridges connecting communities, no sports stadiums echoing with excitement. Construction truly is one of humanity's defining achievements. It's a monument to what becomes possible when human ingenuity meets innovative engineering. Since 1969, Perry's unwavering passion has seen us grow into one of the world's leading formwork and scaffolding companies. We take pride in pioneering new construction trends with a range of products that can be pre-assembled and designed to optimize the building process. It's the driving force behind our success and what makes us an international partner. South Africa's construction industry has been operating in extremely challenging conditions. But we South Africans are a resilient nation. We are built to last. We adapt, we unite, and we forge ahead, finding new solutions to help build a sustainable economy in which we all can prosper. We can't imagine a world without construction, for it is the catalyst that enables economic growth. By working closely with governments on infrastructure projects such as reservoirs, dams, bridges, and housing, we are actively helping to shape the country's future.
We're proud to be Perry, but we're also proud at Perry to be associated with an industry that creates employment, makes roads safer, connects cities, builds schools for the children of our future, and attracts both local and foreign investment back into this beautiful country of ours. We are committed to partnering with our customers and the construction industry as a whole, as we pioneer the future construction trends through engineering, creative, and economical solutions.
We make construction more efficient, faster, and safer. Providing the best service to our customers is what drives us every day.
Thank you. Once again, thanks to our sponsors, Perry, for your support. Before I introduce our speaker, just some housekeeping. If any of you have any questions, please make use of the Q&A function and not the chat box. We will try and answer your questions either in the Q&A chat box or after the presentation is done. So our SAICI also appreciates the presenters' efforts to share their knowledge on the use of digital technology, and we appreciate you, our members, and the students that have taken the time to attend this event. We are very confident that it will add value and be of benefit. Our presenter, Shoaib Yunus, has a passion for design, infrastructure, and technology, and his passion has gained him recognition as the champion of BIM for civil infrastructure here in South Africa and Africa and the world over. Currently, he is pursuing his master's degree in civil engineering. He's affiliated with EXA and SAICI. He is an Autodesk certified instructor and an international speaker and webinar host. Shoaib has presented at numerous prestigious events and professional bodies around the globe, as well as being the only professional selected from the African continent to present at Autodesk University 2020. And he will again be presenting at this year's global event in October 2021. At Baynes, he is involved in various BIM projects, from creating a digital twin for a retirement village to assisting on a BRT project to get community buy-in. He has also been instrumental in the use of 3D scanning and point clouds for scan to BIM workflow, working with both Topcon and Leica. Shoaib not only understands GIS, BIM, and 3D scanning, but also has experience in implementing a common data environment. Shoaib hopes to spur on transformation within the civil infrastructure industry, as well as inspire fellow design professionals to the drivers of digital transformation. With that said, and with anticipation, I hand over to you, Shoaib. We are looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kuben, for that gracious introduction, and welcome everyone to this prestigious event, I would say. It's a pleasure hosting you, and let's look at what we are going to be tackling in for today. Now, before I get into the meat of the content, just to give you context on where I come from and what I do as a professional, the next slide will give you that exactly. So I work for an amazing company called Baynes with an amazing team of technical specialists and all around the board. And we are a technology consulting partner, right? So we help you to design and make a better world through digital transformation. And you can see all of the cool stuff that we actually do in this space, whether you are in AEC or PDM, AEC meaning architecture, engineering and construction, or product design and manufacturing. We cater to all of these industries because we are very passionate about digital transformation in this segment. So whether you're looking at reality capture from, if you're on the civil infrastructure or on the civil side of things, you can go Topcon. I mean, if you're in the architectural space, we've got reality captions for that. Whether you want to use intelligent design processes and software, we're also back for that. We also are a big part of the Autodesk world, where we are a service provider select. We listed on the marketplace as well, and we are accredited for consulting implementation. Last but not least, especially in this time, virtual training is the way to go, and we definitely offer those type of things for civil engineers, for architects, for any professional that's interested in design and being better in what they do. We do that via virtual training, as well as blended learning in approach, and of course, offering CPD accredited courses via SAICI. So that's just us in a nutshell and gives you an idea of what type of work I'm involved in. So in terms of today's session, we always start off with an industry perspective. How are things currently in our South African industry? Right, it's very pertinent to get that context into play. And then from there, we're going to jump in directly into what BIM is, and we're going to go along those points. The big one being BIM versus digital twinning. We all know that there's a very big confusion in industry, and I've got a lot of good content, very simply put, that will actually help you demystify that gray area. We're also going to talk about BIM Mandates. A lot of people aren't aware of it, actually, and I'm going to fill you in on that. And then we're going to look at some really cool case studies, not only abroad, but here in South Africa. Generally, the presentations always show international projects, but if it's homegrown, it's much more better, it's much more relatable, and that's exactly what you're going to see here. And then last but not least, it's the closing. Very, very important. We're going to look at the key takeaways, how you can incorporate all of this that you're going to be seeing today, And of course, if you have any questions, anything that pops in your head, shoot it into the chat box in the Q&A session. We will definitely get to it at the end of the session. Last but not least, we're going to look at how we're going to help you. And then, of course, what our thought process is looking at future webinars and, of course, recordings, right? So better stick around till the end. And I hope that you guys enjoyed the content today. All right, so let's start off with the industry perspective. I always like painting a picture because setting things in motion and getting everyone towards a common vision is always a great thing to understanding any type of concept. So let's start off with our continent of Africa. So as you can see on your screen, there are some very interesting facts. Some you might know, some you might not. So let's look at them. So first of all, our continent is the second largest and second most populous continent in the world. Okay, just let that sink in if looking at magnitude wise. And we have an area of approximately 30.3 million square kilometers comprising of 54 countries. Africa covers 6% of the Earth's total surface area and 20% of its land area. We're 1/5 of the world, guys. Not only that, with 1.3 billion people as of 2018, it accounts for about 16% of the world's human population. And the last point is definitely one that excites me, where Africa's average population is the youngest amongst all the continents. So we're sitting at about a median age of, let's say 20, let's round up, in 2012, and worldwide it's about 31. So we have huge potential as a continent. Now let's zoom into our beautiful country of South Africa and look at what we are facing or dealing with, right? So as per Stats SA, in 2016, we were looking at, or we are sitting at about close to 56 million people in terms of population. And as per the projections of the UN, we are projected to be sitting at approximately just over 60 million. Now, why I bring in stats into this is because civil infrastructure is there to enhance the quality of life for all of those that are within that country, that region, that city. And with this population, we need to provide resilient civil infrastructure. And that's where my whole thought process is coming from. Now, when you're looking at components of civil infrastructure, there are 6 main segments: buildings, roads, rail, bridges, tunnels, as well as pipe networks and utilities. These are the core of civil infrastructure, and we definitely need this to thrive as a community, as a population. So more data, right? So just to validate or cement my point further, what you're seeing on your screen is actually the average daily global figures in those segments. So roads and highways, housing, as well as the growth of urban population projected to 2050. Now let's zoom into Africa as a continent. As you can see, for roads and road construction and highways, 394 kilometers. Bear in mind, the key word here is daily. It's not yearly, it's daily, okay? If you're looking at housing, Africa, 968. And if you look at our urban population projected to 2050, 3.1%, it's higher than all of those there. So our state of urbanization is much more on an increase because we are a developing continent. And that is why we need to cater for much more better civil infrastructure. So to put it into a nice picture, we always prefer pictures. This is what we're looking at when we are projecting up to 2050. You can see rail, it's about 153 kilometers, again, daily averages, right? Urban buildings, 13,213, power grid, 17,476 kilometers, roads and highways, 3,169, and water and sewer, 32,034 kilometers. Now, those are all staggering numbers, okay? Especially if you're looking at being efficient in service delivery, civil infrastructure. All of this plays a critical role in delivering that. Now, based on this, we have identified by interacting with fellow industry experts, dealing with consultants, working on projects, engineering, those type of things. We've narrowed it down to 7 main challenges. So let's look at them. So these are the 7 challenges faced in civil infrastructure, not only here in South Africa, but also abroad. And we will unpack them slowly. So let's get into them quickly. All right, so the first one is increased design complexity. I mean, if you're going to get an increase and a rise in urbanization in population, of course it's going to get more complex. All right. Current practice is painful, manual, and inaccurate. Why? Because we're doing things the old way, or we're expecting the same results based on old methods to new problems. Doesn't work like that. And that is why that is the number one problem. And if you go to the next one, it's design errors. Now, this has like a domino effect as you're going down this list of challenges. And if you look at design errors, if your current process does not cater to complex design, you're going to end up with design errors, which are caused from inaccurate capture of existing conditions or design data. Project deadlines, I mean, every designer's nightmare, right? Even construction, if it's done bad, it has a ripple effect. So project running over time and budget due to rework and revisions. I mean, that always pushes it out. It opens you up to penalties and all of those type of things. Very, very critical and real, right? Collaboration, if you can't, or if you have the top 3 problems, effectively integrating across multiple teams, consortiums, disciplines, that becomes a big challenge. And then of course, it leads to accountability issues and those type of things. So very, very critical there. When it comes to transitioning, this is currently from a designer's perspective, where most consultants are currently in a gray area or a bit in a challenge, moving from 2D to 3D BIM intelligent design. So yes, I mean, when AutoCAD or when any digital drafting tool came out, it was in 2D and everyone got comfortable with it. It did the job much more better than the 2D technical drawing board. But like I said, with increased design complexity, you need to progress. And that's where majority of the consultants are stuck, the transition between 2D and 3D intelligent design. If you're a project manager, you can definitely agree with this one, where it's scheduling and forecasting, especially for construction monitoring and management. Very tough. I mean, if the design has a lot of errors, a lot of bottlenecks in the earliest start, all of your lines are pushed out. I mean, construction goes delayed. You can see how this is all adding up. And very critically, if you're a self-professional where you've got your own business, or if you're organization, being more profitable is very, very critical. So maximizing production with existing resources and the right specialized people. If the above points all add up, the last one is not going to happen, unfortunately. So you might have heard me saying the old way of thinking. Let me explain to you what this is. Unfortunately, this is still the case in industry, but that's why we are here. We want to try and make us more innovative as a South African civil industry. So this is what it was. From the 2D board, when AutoCAD came up, I mean, that was the breakthrough for digital, digitizing from the 2D drafting board to an actual digital platform where the person will do their design. And then from there, I mean, most commonly it's PDF, right? So PDF, you will attach it to your email and then you will send it to someone. Now the problem here is, there's a lot of problems here actually, but main thing is information loss, data loss, audit trails, those type of things. So let's expand on it. So what is the actual challenges faced with the old way of thinking? I have summed it up to 2 things. It's clutter and chaos, and ineffective design and construction sync. Okay, so let me just get into this a little bit more. So first of all, under clutter and chaos, there's no common data environment. Now, we've all been there, including myself, where you're dealing on multiple design projects, construction projects, monitoring your sites, those type of things. Main communication medium is email. Now, someone sending it to you, sometimes your inbox declines it, maybe it goes in junk, it goes in spam, maybe it has a file limit size, so you don't even get the data, and then you're actually scrambling to find it before your next site meeting. All been there. Hands down, it's the worst thing because you're not on top of your things. Secondly, it's delayed action, because now that you don't have this common data environment, you are being more reactive. Instead of being proactive and foreseeing things happening, you are actually like just reacting because you're waiting for something to go wrong and then fixing it. Very, very bad problem. And this also leads to lack of accountability, because whose fault is it? The person sent it, you didn't receive it, or the other way around. you can't really pinpoint someone, and then there's a blame game that goes on. So very, very bad clutter and chaos there. Second one is ineffective design and construction sync. What we mean by this is there's over-reliance on 2D views rather than 3D holistic model. I'll unpack that a bit when we touch on BIM, what I mean by that. Lack of information resulting in more issues. If you don't have info, you can't make an informed decision, simple as that. Delayed communication, I mean, if you're delayed from the onset, you can't change much. Ineffective revision tracking, the most classic example for engineers, structural engineer versus architect. It's been around forever, right? Where structural engineer is probably detailing on revision 1, you go to site, have a site meeting or consortium meeting, the architect's on revision 3. Who is to blame? Very, very important. Revision tracking is critical, and that all boils down to poor project management. So you can see what this leads to, even though you might think it's working for you, but as you look at the bigger picture, not so much. At the end of the day, for us professionals, for organizations, civil consultants, contractors, construction professionals, it all boils down to these 4 things. We want to be better at what we do. We want to be faster at it, most definitely. Leaner in terms of economy and sustainability of your project. And last but not least, more newer and more innovative. So how can we address these challenges? My answer for you today, and what I'm going to be showing you, is to use technology as an enabler. And what will this promote? First of all, smarter, well thought out infrastructure. If you have the right tools and you wield them correctly, definitely you're going to get smarter, well thought out infrastructure. The second point is like really appeals to me because innovative optioneering. What happens in consulting is generally we get the tender or we need to do the design or something like that. You have only time because there's so much of pressure that you're at that stage. You lock in with one option and that's it. You don't have time to check if there's a better option, there's more feasible option, those type of things. With the correct technologies, it allows you to have a much more holistic approach. So then you can actually look at things from different perspectives, get different costing, get different design statuses, and then make a much more informed decision. Okay. This has a ripple effect on enhanced operations and maintenance, or O&Ms, where it's preventative rather than reactive. Imagine you knew that, I always use pipes for this example, that this pipe needs to be replaced within the next 3 months, rather than waiting for it to burst. Game changer, right? Also, it leads to economical, sustainable, and resilient service delivery. I mean, that is self-explanatory. And the key thing is it helps us to elevate as civil professionals to excel and reach new heights. If you have innovation on your side, you have your technical expertise, your academic background, and you've got the right technology to couple that, you're definitely going to be elevated, not only in your organization, but as you are as a professional. Very, very important. And the solution we're going to talk about today is, you guessed it, building information modeling. Which brings me to this. So what is BIM? So building information modeling, what and why? So let us jump into what is BIM. So it is an intelligent 3D model-based process. So what this means is generally when we did design, when we did our like plan views, our elevation views, section views, we relied on this to form the 3D model, okay? Whereas this process, it works as the 3D model as a derivative source, and then you can extract it from there and get realistic, reliable, dynamic 2D views based on the 3D model. Can you see this shift in design perspective? It's very, very different. It also provides more insight and tools for more efficient design construction, well, efficiency across the entire project lifecycle, right? From a design perspective. So whether you're in AEC or PDM or using the convergence type of workflow, this is the tool to use. Now, the process of BIM, it supports the creation of intelligent data that can be used throughout the lifecycle, just like what I've said right now, where it makes its data repurposable. And of course, if you heard this word connected BIM and you weren't sure what it was, this is BIM in conjunction with cloud computing. So that's why we call it connected BIM. Okay. So what will the road to BIM look like? Okay, let's start off. Let me give you a quick tour here, right? So technology, it all starts off with the technology. Yes, you will need to have the educational backing or the practical nature as required by a designer. Okay, very, very critical. Knowledge is always base for everything. But if you have the right technology for to provide the right solutions, that's where you're going to start. You're going to look at BIM-enabled technologies that are very intelligent. When you're making your way around that roundabout, collaboration then becomes or plays a part where you're going to look at how would you take this technology and help it to integrate across your different design disciplines. And then for that, you're going to need the people. So this is where the people comes in with their expertise. I mean, people always think that BIM is for the younger generation, but actually it's more wealthfulness or it's more wealthy or appreciated when you have someone senior to you, a very seasoned professional that helps you to compare their or combine their design experience or career experience with innovation. And that's where you get the perfect blend. And that's where the people come into play. From there, we're going to make our way, and this is where information or data capture becomes important because you need to know what type of information and how you're going to capture it, which leads you then to a process. This is where a process will need to be defined. And with that process, a very common thing or very, very critical thing is information management. You hear it a lot, right? And that's where a common data environment comes in because that's where you're going to need to see how your information is being managed. And for that, you need standardization. That's where standards come into play, where you get the same recipe that's not too rigid, slightly flexible, but it gives you the same controlled output in terms of standardization. And then from there, once you get onto that portion, you can expand its use. In this case, if you have a BIM model, maybe of a road, a building, pipe network, you can actually use it for further operations and maintenance and other BIM uses. So why BIM? Okay, so already I'm sure you're probably convinced, but let me give you more convincing from my end. Why BIM? So as you can see, these are all reference sources. So this is from the business value of BIM for infrastructure. The first two spheres you're going to see from that report. So the first one talks to the business people. So business benefits of BIM, big one is competitive advantage. If you're using intelligent methods, intelligent workflows, innovation, and there's a lot of benefits that come with that, it always puts you ahead of the curve because you can deliver faster and more insightfully compared to your competition. And that has a ripple effect on increased profitability because you're designing in a much more leaner, economical, innovative way. And it makes hiring and retention because now you have the people, you grew them, they become like synced into this workflow or this method of working, and you are building a really formidable crew. And of course, this is very, very good when you're looking at reduced business risk because you have more holistic overview of what you have done. Okay, so that is a very, very four big business benefits of that. From a project perspective, now, if you're looking at project management and those type of things, these what was captured and documented, 33% fewer errors. That is a huge chunk. I mean, especially dealing with projects here in South Africa, we know what happens, right? Even though we don't want it and we wish for the best, it does happen. But fewer errors and better understanding from a designer's perspective is great because as a designer, the more info you have, the more an informed decision you can make. And then, of course, there's improved scheduling from a management perspective, optimizing your design for economical nature as well as sustainability, and that impacts the cost at the end of the day. This third sphere I've added from my personal experience, where from a technical standpoint, this is the four that I've got. Common data platform. If we had this, or I wish I had this when I was dealing with structural and architectural disciplines together, a lot of fighting and back and forth would have been resolved right there or avoided. Multidisciplinary collaboration, when you're working on a consortium and you have this setup, it works beautifully, okay? Dynamic live design, meaning that if you're using the intelligent tools from a technical perspective, if I had to change that role alignment, all of the earthworks, the elevation data, all of that, even the super elevation will update instantly. That's what I'm talking about, live dynamic design. And there's one that is very specific here. It's integration with GIS. GIS is always kind of overlooked, but it plays a very imperative role in our design processes. Again, I'm going to use a pipe an example. If you knew the pipe was there before you excavated, it's definitely not going to burst, okay? Or you're not going to be paying penalties or those type of things. Geographic information systems are key in sustainable infrastructure. So that is my 3 spheres for why BIM should be incorporated in our industry. Okay, so in terms of the foundation, it is the foundation of digital transformation. You can see the data can be transitioned throughout all of those phases along the project lifecycle, and it puts us on the map to achieving digital twins, which lines up us quite nicely for our next segment. So BIM versus digital twinning, what's the difference? We've had a lot of back and forth with this on like social networks and stuff like that, but here's to demystifying it once and for all. So just a fun fact, the first practical definition of a digital twin was originated from actually NASA when they attempted to improve the physical model simulation of spacecraft in 2010. All right, a nice fun fact there. So a digital twin is a virtual representation. Digital and virtual are different. It might sound very similar, but it is different, right? I'm going to use a very weird example here, but if you look at Iron Man has a personal assistant called Jarvis. Jarvis is the key that is achieved when you have a digital twin, because it will analyze everything around you and it will give you more data, live feeding data to make a much more informed decision. Okay. That's my simple way of putting it to you. Whereas BIM is the digital representation of your environment. So of a building, of a road, of a rail network, of a pipe network, utilities, those type of things. And the data is created normally from inception or planning right up to design phases. So digital twinning takes this data that is created during the BIM process and further extends it, where we're going to integrate it with other systems. And these systems are called the Internet of Things. Now, this is where you are transitioning towards building a digital twin. So digital twinning here, BIM is the most efficient part to get there, because now you have a digital replica or digital representation of your environment or of your asset. And from there, you can link in the Internet of Things. If you haven't heard of IoT, what it is it's an ecosystem that consists of web-enabled smart devices, you use sensors, embedded systems, processors. It collects all that data and it monitors it, or it provides it to you. And the data that is acquired from the environment, that's where you can make your analysis from, or your in-depth type of decision. In a nutshell, it is Industry 4.0. So the fourth industrial revolution, a lot of people have this misconception that it's only applicable to the manufacturing space. I will give you a quick snapshot of or a brief description of what it actually is, if you haven't heard of it. So the first industrial revolution, it actually came with the advent of mechanization, steam power, and water power. Remember seeing those steam trains and people were being all happy? That was it, okay? The second one was the second industrial evolution, of course, which revolved around mass production and assembly lines using electricity. So you can see now it has gradually improved. And then we looked at, or it was followed by the third industrial revolution. Now, this came with electronics, IT systems, and automation, which led us to where we are now, which is the fourth industrial revolution, or 4IR, that is associated with cyber physical systems. So that's how it has progressed over time. And generally speaking, like Industry 4.0 describes the growing trend towards automation. That's literally what it is. And data exchange in technology and processes within industries. The common terms you would hear is IoT, so Internet of Things, like you heard, industrial Internet of Things, slightly tweaked to different, cyber physical systems, smart manufacturing, smart factories, cloud computing, cognitive computing, AI. I mean, it goes a long way. But it plays a critical role in the convergence between manufacturing and construction. But we'll get to that in a little bit more. To sum up what I've said, digital twinning equals smart cities. right? Whereas a BIM model alone doesn't. It'll put you on the track there, but it's not a digital twin. It is a digital representation. To further distinguish this, so I will conclude with a digital twinning on this slide here. This was, I give credit to Dr. Khaled for this, was very well put forward. So BIM, or building information modeling, is the process of creating and managing that BIM model. So like I said, it was a digital replica that you will need to update every time you get data, because it is of a static nature, meaning it's not dynamic, right? You can make a decision while you're modeling, during, you can review it, but it is definitely not dynamic, but it is the starting block leading to digital twinning. Now, digital twinning is real-time digital replica of a physical asset. Think of it as a living, breathing asset, okay? Where you continue to get live feedback loops between the model and reality. It's keep on feeding information, analyzing, optimizing, those type of things. And digital twin technology uses automated sensor technology for live updates. So it keeps getting filtered and fed to your system. The easiest example to put this forward to you, Google Maps, right? So on the left, you can see it'll give you where the position of the building is, in this case, our office, all right? What digital twinning will do, it will give you all of the analyzed options to get there. So it'll give you the quickest route, it'll give you the slightly slower, based on the time of day, traffic density, all of those type of things. So that is the clear-cut definition or difference between building information modeling and digital twinning. I hope this makes much more sense to you. And the effect of it, this is what you're looking at if you are like a solutions architect, right? You're looking at much more enhanced service delivery from a governmental perspective, private perspective. You're looking at Industry 4.0, construction, cloud, sensors, all of that coming together. And the bottom right one, where it shows you the near term and long term, that is quite interesting, where you're starting off with operational and efficiency. You're trying to get it optimized. You then reach a place where you can actually provide more in terms of new products and services. You can look at the outcomes and define it in terms of economy, and then much more further than that is autonomous nature. That's where I think we all are kind of heading in the tech arena, but let's see how it goes. But that is my bit on digital twinning versus BIM, and I hope it came across quite cool. Next thing that's making this all possible, now like you're seeing right now, how valuable BIM, the process is, and why we need it in our industry. And this ties in directly to what BIM mandates are. So if you haven't heard of what BIM mandates are, so think of it like this. A lot of research went into this, a lot of troubleshooting, people applying it. And when they saw the positive feedback and the benefits that you could actually reap from this, they've decided to mandate it and make it legislative. Now, on the right-hand side, you'll see all those in blue are the countries or regions that already have this mandated, and the planned ones being in green. So I'm telling you that this is not going anywhere, and it's only going to increase in popularity because you can see the benefits right now, okay? And with the population data that I've given you previously in the presentation, you can see that we need to create spaces that are smarter and more resilient because we want our infrastructure to last. So BIM definitely informs planning and resourcing in this spectrum, and this is why these BIM mandates are increasing. So it makes sense. If something is a winning recipe, you definitely want to standardize it and make it work throughout the world. So this is the mind shift that's actually going on at the moment. So what is possible? So what happens if you have the correct technology, you have the correct workflows, everything is in sync? What can you do? Now let's have some fun here, right? So the first part, I want you all to have a good look at this. By the way, this is what we call a BIM Base Model. Unfortunately, most of industry can't even get here. We're still working with 2D data, outdated data, and even if you're doing 3Ds, it's not at this type of a level. This is a base model, okay? Right, so you all mentally screen grab that or whatever. You can turn this into this. Let's go back, before and after. Now, if you're thinking this is just a pretty picture or render put together, I can strongly disagree with you. All of those have metadata that is linked to it, meaning that if I had to click on that road, on that drawing, or on that model, I will be able to get elevation data on there. I could do a stepped super elevation on it. I could check where it's dipping below ground, those type of things, all in this type of environment. Same with pipe utilities. Below ground, you could actually go and click on it, get all the metadata, see what's happening. Same with the buildings, depending on level of detail. All of this has intelligent data linked to it. Now, if you're thinking that this is just a pretty design model and probably there's something not realistically done or real world example, I'm going to give you the reference of the world's flagship in terms of transformation or city transformation, smart city, and that is Dubai. So as you can see on the top, starting from 1950s to the 1990s, we had Dubai Creek, we had the World Trade Center, as well as Sheikh Zayed Road. And look at what it is now. Take a few seconds and just look at that. It has become a thriving city full of amazing civil infrastructure, planning, development. Do you think that this was done using all conventional means? And they were literally a desert. Look at those pictures. Right? They definitely did not use the old way of thinking. They used innovation and technology to achieve this feat. And if you're thinking that these are probably pictures that are a bit too old, this is from 2000, which is quite recent, and downtown Dubai right now. Look at that infrastructure packed city. I mean, it looks amazing, and definitely the quality of life for the people around it have been like through the roof because they have access to such infrastructure. So if they can do it, my question is, why can't we? We have the academic excellence in our industry. We just need to embrace the innovation. That is our differentiating factor right here. Okay, so let's look at some case studies, right? So it's lining up quite nicely. We're going to look at consultants that have used it not only abroad, but here back home in South Africa. So just in case you think it's an overseas thing, it's definitely not. So let's jump in and look at some projects that were done abroad. So the first one was a cable stayed bridge that was done in Morocco by a project firm called EGIS JMI, of course, cable stayed bridge. And I've just taken some snippets from the story. All of these are freely accessible online if you want to read on how technology has helped a lot of civil infrastructure professionals in their projects. You're more than welcome to go and check it out. But these are some of the snap points I've pulled out. It's Africa's largest cable stayed crossing, okay? It consisted or comprised of 6 firms across 3 continents for 1 bridge. That is a big collaboration issue right there, okay? But let's read directly from the source what they had to say. The first point is like remarkable because this is literally what they said, but no one ever said building Africa's longest and tallest cable stayed bridge and the project rich management it would entail, it would be so easy. I mean, structural engineers, you guys do definitely know like the challenges associated with this, especially cable stayed, right? And they actually said that they ran to a 0 clash. So if you're not familiar with clashing, it's normally when you do a model and you check if there's any interference or tolerances that have been violated as per your design spec. They had 0 on this project. And because they embraced 3D modeling and they used innovative approaches, they had no rework, resulting in 1 design submittal. Again, if you are in the consulting world, you know how many design submittals we end up sending. This was done on a very, very big project. And the final point was, without the 3D model and the global collaborative platform, the entire project would have run into considerable rework, delays, and financial loss during construction. Again, innovation right there. And this is in Africa, Morocco, right? Okay, let's get out a bit of Africa and let's go to our next slide. Now, this one was the high-tech park design that was done by SCSD in China, multidisciplinary, of course. You can see the video playing on the top right. But what they found great value in is bringing multidisciplinary design teams using core authoring tools, right? This resulted in connected BIM helped them to save a third of the design time and costs. Now, looking at a project of this magnitude and this like vastness, you can only imagine how much this cost. And I mean, 33% of that, if you're looking at like 100 million, maybe way more, definitely way more. But I mean, you can actually recognize how much you're saving here. Okay. They also used design optioneering. So they actually were more quicker to iterate design options to meet their design targets or sustainability goals. You can see design and sustainability go hand in hand. And because of that, you could review design alternatives, something that they called mobile terminals. And at the end of the day, working with a multidisciplinary team on a common data environment with intelligent BIM workflows and tools resulted in something like this. You can see real world context modeling right up there. I mean, look at that. That's the VR part of it that you could actually link. And you will even see that the person that is sitting live in context looking at where the structure is going on his tablet. Okay, the last one I'm going to show you from abroad. This is quite a cool project, actually. It was in Norway, high-speed rail, and this incorporated like GIS, model, 3D modeling, analysis. Like, look at it. You can just look at it. I mean, they've zoned the areas according to what they needed to. They brought in the data, and they connected 120 stakeholders for design approval. That's huge, right? But this was all possible because they use a common data environment where they could do reviews every 14 days. And they recognize a 20% time saving with help from this connected BIM process. So again, this is all overseas. And you can see the projects are really, really innovative. All right, so let's fly back here into our country, South Africa, and let's look at the consultants that have applied this. There are many, but again, because of time constraints, I've just chopped in about 3 or 4. So let's have a look. First one I'm going to be referencing is HHO Consulting Engineers, right? In this project, it was a BRT station, so bus rapid transport system. And the biggest issue felt here was communication of technical data to a non-technical audience. I think as engineers, we've all been here where people can't understand our designs, and we don't blame them for that. But we need a much more visual, easier way to get across that data. And then this was the problem faced here, because in this project, they had a varying retaining wall that progressed along the median. Now, the median was a step platform that catered for the positioning of the architectural stations for this BRT. Now, to visualize that and to check if it wasn't encroaching in terms of the space constraints and stuff like that, it was a big problem. And what HHO did was they incorporated a BIM workflow where they took the intelligent data, linked it to a 3D visual model or atmosphere arena, and that was the result. Now you can see at the bottom right corner that that was a detailed design in red. And what we noticed was that the profile for the median with the picture next to it was too flat. And then what we decided, or what we checked, was it wasn't referencing the correct profile. Once we did update that, it fitted in perfectly and they've got the approval. As you can see, the browsable render of the retaining wall will ultimately pay off. So this is in South Africa, okay? Really, really innovative here. Again, it was one of the first rapid transit systems in Africa called the Rio Via from 2010, and then it has seen a massive expansion across. So very, very good application here of BIM technology and workflow. Another quite interesting topic dealing with power, so renewable energy, which is always a very interesting topic. This was done by Conco Energy Solutions in South Africa, and this is what remark they had made. They said, when you're responsible for lighting up 155,000 homes, there's no room for error. I agree with that. Rated to deliver 140 megawatts of clean renewable power from its 61 wind turbines during operation. That's quite a scale of a project. Okay. And again, this will use the convergence workflow. So from manufacturing to construction, using 3D modeling, a common data environment. And look at that, it anticipated to generate around 513,200 megawatts an hour per year of clean renewable energy. That's innovation right there, okay? And with the CDE common data environment, as well as using the convergence workflow, a lot fewer issues were there to deal with. Okay. So again, South Africa, this was a really cool project. Another one, I just have probably one more after this, and then we'll see how it goes. But this was also very innovative for energy efficient construction, and it was done by Lumbard consulting engineers here in South Africa. And it was for a medical facility of medical clinic. And what they boasted from this construction was, it is one of South Africa's few 5-star Green Star SA rated buildings. That is a remarkable achievement, and they couldn't have achieved it without using what I am preaching to you today, okay? You can see what they say there. It's the workflow and reduced time out of office translates to the same level of service delivery at a reduced cost, meaning that using the correct design technology, the tools gives you much more insight. And even though you're not meeting face-to-face, or your time is reduced in terms of interaction, using the correct innovation actually makes you save more time. And they have referenced that they've increased their workflow anywhere from 15 to 30%. And the last comment is quite, I'm very favorable for it, is construction techniques are changing and timetables are constantly moving up. Customers are demanding more construction in less time. I think we all can agree with that one. And if you're not already onboarding the new industry technologies, you are rapidly falling behind. And that is unfortunately what's happening with our industry. And that's why we are all talking about this here today. Okay. Last but not least, since we did talk about smart cities earlier, South Africa does have smart cities in the pipeline. I think if you are in Gauteng, the most common one or the popular one known is Waterfall City, definitely up there. But there's also Lanseria, the Durban Aerotropolis, as well as the Mooikloof Mega City. Now, these are all planned, and it's great to see our country think in this innovative direction, but we also need to support that vision. And this is how BIM comes to play. A very, very nice definition by Kashif Talib, leader for urban planning and land infrastructure in Sutari. This is what he says. A smart city is a city where opportunity, amenity, safety, resilience, inclusivity, and prosperity are imperatives, definitely. And innovation across financing, design, construction, operations, and governance is embraced by stakeholders to achieve these imperatives, 100%. I don't have to explain that further. It's quite straight and direct. The emphasis on digital platforms also enables data collection. I mean, data is the name of the day. If you're looking everything now, it's all based on data. And the availability of large data sets is one of the first steps towards optimization, 100%. More data, more informed decisions, more capabilities. So this is where South Africa is looking in terms of the pursuit of smart cities. Now, all of these I've showed you so far. Here in South Africa, abroad, what's planned, what the advantages are, what the definitions, the distinguishing factors. How do these consultants here back home and abroad actually do this? It's a very simple answer. They all gravitated or evolved towards a much more new design process that's more streamlined. How would that look? Now, on the graph here, I just want you to concentrate on the green one, so number 4, and the black one, which is 3. So 4 being the preferred design process, 3 being the traditional design process. Now, let me say the difference here. Generally in design, this is what happens. When we get appointed on a project, we always kind of receive the data late, or we don't have enough data. Maybe sometimes you might receive the survey data 2 months after you've been appointed on a project, for example, those type of things. And what happens is, because it needs to be fulfilled by a certain date, as per your plan as a consultant, you need the correct contractor on board to align to that. I think everyone gets affected with this, right? And what happens is, all of the pressure boils down to the construction design or construction documentation phase. During that phase, that's the place you don't want to have any revisions, any variation orders, any problems with your designs, things not passing. And unfortunately, all of that happens within that space. Now, what the new way of or preferred design process is look at the green graph. You want to do most of your work between the preliminary design and detailed design phase, if not before that, because now you have more insight, you have more tools to help you to design better, you have more optioneering, you have so much more resources at your disposal that your design can be almost like 80%. I've worked in certain designs where I've got it up to 95% within this peak. And sometimes you just have to change the drawing names. That's how good you can get, okay? And what's the advantage with that is because it's well thought out at the start, at the end, you're not gonna have any problem because you had anticipated 99% of what probably is gonna happen. There is always 1% that I can't help you with, that's just life, but that is literally what we are aiming for. And that's what these consultants did here back home. They embraced that innovation, they took it, and this is what they have. So with that, I've spoken quite a lot. Let's look at closing it out and today's key takeaways, how we can help you, and of course, the Q&A and where you can get this recording. So just stick around till the end. All right, so BIM is the foundation of digital transformation. I hope the case I've made today has actually swayed you in this direction. If not, what can I do? I mean, all of the information, all of the data is there for you. It's clear, it's very clear, okay? But it can help us transform our civil industry remarkably. So remember these design problems that I brought up, the 7 challenges faced in civil infrastructure here in South Africa as well as abroad. I'm going to give you like bite-sized takeaways to actually help you think of how you could actually overcome this. So the first one, when you're talking about increased design complexity, we definitely need to embrace change. Okay, BIM adoption and mandates across the world are increasing. It's definitely here to stay. So instead of being reactive, we need to be proactive. Instead of letting it come here and we adjusting to it the last minute, your competitive edge is just going to go down. It's going to drop, and it's going to be probably too late in a sense that you're going to have to take a recovery lap quite long before you actually get onto the bandwagon, and we don't want that. So please, as civil professionals, we definitely need to embrace this change. When it comes to design errors, knowledge is power, right? So upskill your people and get them BIM ready. This doesn't, the responsibility does not sit with like the team leaders, but it's also with the professionals themselves. You need to be more curious, check out what's happening in industry, upskill yourself. And with the more knowledge that you make much more informed design decisions. And with that, hopefully reduced errors. Project deadlines. Have a look at what other projects or other consultants are doing, not only in our country, but throughout the world, and invest in BIM-enabled technology. Because think of it, if you keep reading and upskilling and making yourself more aware from a management perspective, you'll get more ideas. Definitely, reading opens up that for you. So definitely something to consider and to invest in and evaluate in. Collaboration, I don't know what more to say about this. I mean, common data environment is the key. There's no argument against it, but you need to actually consider how your BIM data will be managed and shared. If you have a strict or stringent type of a control on that, your processes will go pretty good. Transitioning from 2D to 3D, please don't be scared. It's something you have to do. You rather do it now than later. But this is where we, as technology experts, BIM partners, those type of roles, people that have been in industry, applied it on projects, worked in the engineering world, and then have a grasp of the technology. Partner with them, let them help you. I mean, they can execute on your BIM vision as well as check where you are in the readiness scale and get you going, right? We want to foster digital transformation in our industry, and this is the way to go. Project management, simply don't be left behind. You need to keep abreast of industry trends and breakthroughs. It ties in quite well with project deadlines, because if you are researching quite well and seeing how people use innovation to tackle different projects and larger schemes where like they made a plan, if I could use that word, and it worked, put it into your playbook, and that's how you would go around with it. And last but not least, being more profitable, all problems definitely need new solutions. And this is documented. BIM has a good track record of real business benefits. 100%. You've seen it here today. There's numerous resources online, master's thesis, all of those type of things. You can actually read white papers, all of that is there. So this is what I leave you with today. Okay, so with me speaking quite a bit, I'm going to open up for Q&A. If you have any questions, I will also have a look at the Q&A box to see what we have received, and I will take them on air. If anything's popped into your head right now, you've got a few seconds, jot it into the Q&A session, and yeah, we will take it from there. So we'll be quite interested to hear your questions or even what you thought of this session. It'll be quite insightful for us. So I am gonna scroll through here and I'm gonna give you some time to jot down your questions. Okay, so one of the users are agreeing with me and saying that definitely BIM is the way to go. Yay, I'm very happy with that. Of course, synchronization does play a role. And again, BIM is not a software, right? It is a process, methodology that you would apply. So thank you for that. There's a question here, how do we tackle these issues for smoother implementation? Innovation, correct planning, and education, 100%. You're going to need the technology. I mean, you can be as academically gifted as possible. You can have a lot of degrees under your name, but if you're still working harder and smarter, you're going to be stuck in that loop, unfortunately. So you need the blend of expertise, of technology, and like well thought out experience that will make implementation that much better. It's a good question there. Okay, so there's one here. I also have a keen interest to know which forms of contracts are used to implement these projects. As with my little knowledge, it is necessary to front load the designs with inputs from contractors. Okay, so this is a good question. Now, from what I'm understanding here is how do you onboard the contractors, or how can the contractors get onboarded? I would say from experience, the consultant and the contractor or the client or the person that is heading the project is to who the data sits with, the owner, the custodian of it. They need to come and say, listen, we are doing this project in this manner. We need you to be on board. And from there, map out an execution plan and get it going. That is the best way forward so that everyone works towards a common vision. Not only that is, if you are going and striving towards this digital type of synchronization, which I strongly recommend for both consultant and contractor, the contractor has much more information, right, when he's constructing. I mean, compared to the normal 2Ds that we send, those A notes, those 3 sets or whatever, imagine having a digital model on him and looking at it, how much more better it will be, not only for him and also for you, because your RFIs go down, all of those type of things, and reduce site meetings because everyone has a clearer vision. So that is my recommendation for going forward on that. Okay, so there's one here. Planning of smart cities, why the designs, especially on roads, still follows old method of roads leading towards main road. That's exactly the old way of thinking. All right, so I think you've answered your own question there. The reason being is because when you're doing a lot of urbanization, city developments, I mean, if you are in the roads field, you know that we normally have a master plan for every 50 years, 100 years or whatever, where we anticipate how growth trends will go and where we would probably need a road. This ties in directly with that. Now, if you had these technologies to optioneer for you and to take like the best routes proposed based on the terrain, cost of land, those type of things, it will solve a lot of those problems. So again, good question. The thing is, we need to open ourselves up to much more innovative, newer ways of doing it. Okay, there's another one. Are there established implementation frameworks that SA companies can use to implement BIM workflow in their daily process? 100%. Like I said, there's a lot of resources readily available online. But of course, I will have our details on how we are going to help you after this to shed a bit more light on that. But it all comes down to educating yourself, your team, and your peers around this. The greater the understanding and how the methodology works, you're going to then definitely get a much more better, clearer answer. Okay. Do you think the standardization of BIM within the South African civil engineering industry could help to ameliorate the challenges of completing the infrastructure projects within the quadruple constraint of time? 100%. That is why very valid, brutal, but very valid point there, right? Because this is why we're having this conversation, because we encounter things like this in the complete projects. I mean, I've driven in certain places where the pedestrian bridge was done a quarter of the way and it's just there. Where's the rest of it? I don't know, right? So by using processes like this, like what I've just showed you today, it's going to help you alleviate or avoid those completely, because you have a much more transparent process in front of you. And with sequential planning, designing, and insight, you're going to achieve this not only for time, cost, quality, and safety, but also for sustainability. Thank you for that one. That was quite a nice question. Okay, there's another one. How will BIM help in surveying? Okay, all right. Let me think about this one. So the surveying part of it is we would normally use reality capture. So there are a variety of reality capture developers or brands out there, but you would need, first of all, to check the accuracy that you're obtaining or required as per spec. But once that data is collected, it's normally processed or generated into a structured point cloud, which then can be linked into a BIM environment. Now, what makes that so beautiful is because you have the existing reality in your laptop, literally, and you can design purely in context. So let's say you do a scan of a site and there are existing buildings, those type of things. You have all of those measurements, those real life positioning there at your disposal. So it's really, really a good application. And not only that, photogrammetry is also a popular thing where drones fly, a hot topic in construction. You could actually generate a mesh or a tin from that, and you could use the elevation data of that. So definitely can help surveying in these positions. Okay, can BIM be useful for startups, SMEs that are also in the interface of OIR? Yes. This is also a way we are trying to steer the mind focus of industry, especially if you're looking at your own startup or you want to start your own business, that type of thing. Using that process, it gives you enhanced capabilities, or well, it doesn't make you a superhero, right? But it gives you more versatility. That is the word. Versatility that will give you much more flex power to do much more better things. Of course, again, engineering is at the core of it. So you do have to have a good sound background to know what you're doing. But it definitely allows you to do that and collaborate with 4IR or whatever you want to do. Okay, there's a bit of a long one here, so bear with me. It is clear to me that BIM and digital engineering delivery is the way forward. Okay, I'm on the same page with you. What changed internationally and specifically in the UK was the government's requirement of BIM on all government-funded projects. I fear you have been preaching to the choir. Okay, I'll take that. We need SAICI and the industry to promote this right way to our clients. What are your comments on this and how can this be achieved? This is purely centered around what I agree with you here. And that is why I brought in BIM Mandates, because BIM Mandates is our opportunity as an infrastructure industry to standardize this process. Just like how you've seen in UK, I mean, those ISO standards and all of those type of things. By mandating it and getting a pure understanding, the first step here, or the key of this webinar, was to give you a basic foundation and understanding of how imperative this is, why it is so necessary, especially in our South African civil engineering industry. Once you change the perception of this, of our community as a civil infrastructure, then we can look at people's minds opening up and seeing that, listen, this is the benefits. There are so many benefits of this. And it will usher in or promote us compiling our own BIM mandate, which I am fully for. So that was my reason for showing to the audience today what is a BIM mandate. So thank you for that comment. Okay, so there's another one here. With getting students BIM ready, would you be able to offer a training, a virtual workshop, or possible for SciSys civil students? Look, we can look at something like that, but what I'm going to show you after this is actually to your advantage. So definitely stick around after we're done with this Q&A, and you'll see the resources that are available to you. Thank you for that one. How much cost is going into modeling versus engineer's time? I could give you a very finicky answer for that. It will be dependent on project scalability or scope. I mean, that is an engineer's answer, right? It's purely depending on what processes you have, the technology you have, and the people you have. If you have that all in sync, the engineer will just have to check the spec, give it to the draftsperson or the BIM modeler, or whoever it is, the technician, get that done, check the specs again, get it to the client, pitch it, get it approved, that's it. So the engineer is playing purely the engineer role here, where he's looking at the final model, he's looking at the alternatives, and he's able to speak engineering to a non-engineering audience. So time can vary, but from personal experience, it is much quicker, definitely much more quicker. And as an engineer, it also helps a draftsperson to visualize what the engineer is trying to achieve. So no defined answer there, but it is definitely much quicker. Okay, there's another one here. Please, can you talk about what software platforms are available? There is a lot. There's quite a bit. But from experience and looking at what's happening in the world, like the trendsetters or the leaders in technologies, for example, Esri is the leader in GIS. There's no denouncing that or no debating that. That is globally recognized. And what we've seen during the current years, Autodesk has been the leader in the BIM environment. Again, there are different types of solution providers there or developers, but I mean, it's up to you, right? You need to see what's happening. But yeah, thank you. Do your research there. Again, the slide that's going to follow, I will touch on this quite a bit. There's a lot of questions here, guys, so please bear with me. What is the first step a company can take towards BIM adoption, practically speaking? Upskilling yourself and your team. If you understand it, that is the first hurdle for anything, right? Even if you're studying it, if you understand what you're working towards and your entire team agrees with it, then you have a common base. Once that comes into play, you need to look at your mission statement, your value statement, your company statement, because each company has a unique offering, right? In terms of their style, their approach. Try to tailor that to that, and then take it away from there. And then, of course, you can reach out to people like me that actually specialize in this, okay? But that's my approach to it. Can contractors use BIM for resource planning and programming? Yes. So this is a tricky one, right? The answer is yes. However, that is only if you are able to get the consultant's file in a digital format. So generally, you will get the PDF of the consultant's design, but you don't have the digital CAD format or whatever platform BIM it was done in. If you can come to a common understanding there, and I mean, there could be something documented in terms of the spec or the project charter or whatever, that listen, this is need to be delivered, this can be shared, then of course, right? So you just need to see what your understanding is with the consultant. Is transition to 3D drawing a good strategy to get into BIM? 100%, because that's where the basis is. From 2D, you go to 3D, you have much more visual representation. From there, you get to more dynamic design, then you add in metadata, and it just keeps on going. So always a good place to start. Question on costing. Will BIM become more affordable for smaller businesses? This one, I am not the oracle, right? So I can't see how our economy is going to go or what technologies are going to be developed at a much more better rate or stuff like that. That's why I love being technical. I don't get involved with that. But I would say from a value add, you need to look at your resources in terms of maybe governmental support, from my opinion, or also what you would need to start off as a bare minimum, or partnering with other fellow consultants or JVs that will actually help you achieve this at a lower cost to you, and then build from there gradually. That's my opinion. Which softwares are highly affected for them? I think I did answer this talking about Esri and Autodesk actually being the leaders in Esri and GRS and BIM. So you can probably check that out. Okay, how are we doing for time? Right? Okay, we got like 5 minutes. I'm getting flagged here. There are so many questions here. Okay, we will have to make a plan and like get you guys the answers, but I promise you this list is absolutely long, and I think we're going to probably sit here like the next hour answering all of this, which I don't mind, but I know you all have been working and this start at 5, so we will have to see as a team between us and like how we're going to get to all of these questions. But I definitely want to keep this going. So what I will do, I think that will be the last question I will take, but this is what I have planned. So let me just switch the slide. So based on all of this question and curiosity is remarkable, and it's great to get this feedback, especially in our industry. Okay, let me just check the chat. Give me a second. Sorry guys, I'm just scrolling quite a bit here. Okay, so what I see here from SciC, they say that I can go till 7 o'clock, so we can allocate more CPD points. I'm game for that. So let me keep going. Now I need to just scroll up to where I stopped, which is quite daunting. Let me see here. Okay, I think I found it. All right, so there's one here that says, our company is still using old methods of design. Which first steps would you suggest to shift into BIM workflow? I think I did kind of understand that. I'm going to kind of speed blitz through some of the questions. But again, do your research, understand it, look at your company, what you offer, and then take it from there. And then, of course, we solve our customers' problems through digital transformation, and we help them to design and make a better world. So that's what we do as an like our expertise is in purely fledged consulting, and so you could always reach out to us if it's beyond your depth. There's another question here. Do you know of any government structures, departments, municipalities that are specifying the use of BIM? If not, how can we encourage the public sector clients to embrace this technology? So there are some talks, and we've seen certain municipalities and stuff like starting to adopt these intelligent technologies. Some of them I've implemented as well, and they are seeing the benefits of it. So let's just hope on the horizon that this becomes a reality. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to switch slide, and I'm just going to continue to answer so that in case you guys need our details, I will leave that there, and let me do this, right? So because we've got like a huge list of questions, I'm just going to go through this slide very quickly, and then we'll get back into it. Now, because you're so curious, and it's phenomenal to get this type of feedback, you can always reach out to us. I'm even getting tongue-tied now, right? So you can follow me on LinkedIn, or you can drop me an email directly, shoaib@bakerbens.com, and then we can chat further and address your questions and queries. Another thing is, in terms of the recording of this webinar, it's going to be uploaded to our Baker Benz YouTube channel. So if you want to revisit this, or you know a buddy that has missed it, you're more than welcome to tag them in the comments. I will also reshare it on LinkedIn, and you can tag your buddies in the comments and see how it goes. In terms of resources from a BIM perspective, there are a lot of workflows and best practices that are available online. However, we do know that when it comes to this type of environment, it is quite daunting for new users. So what I do suggest is you could actually, again, reach out to us and you can see what we actually offer. So from BIM consulting and training perspective, there's much more that we do, and we helped a lot of our clients, users, or engineers, architects to get on board with this. And by some of them, we're looking at, like, for example, BIM and business consulting, looking at your processes, analyzing it and tailor making it for you. Software training that has been CPD accredited, some of the courses are definitely. And then, of course, we apply it on a project, because there's nothing better than learning on a project on the go. Reality capture, business process analysis, all of those type of things. So I'm going to leave that on. You can also follow us like on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Just type in Baker Baynes and hit follow. Best way, knowledge is key here. So the more that you're aware of this and the more that you upskill yourself, the better. Okay, so let's get back to the questions here. What percentage would you say Autodesk and GIS have in BIM and its management? I don't have a number for you, but it's quite huge. I mean, everywhere you look, the thesis is done, the white paper is done, the resources invested into it, the versatility in terms of scale, it's been dominated by these two. There are other providers there, I'm not saying they aren't, but these two are the industry leaders. Okay, is it okay for a concept design to be at least 75% minimum of the final design and provide at least 2 options? That will be specified in your design document or your spec, right? You can go way beyond that though. I've done concept designs at almost 100%. I was kind of lucky there because I had most of the data, but you can definitely go beyond that and propose options, no problem. Just check with your agreement. With BIM, in what form is the construction drawings information issued? The traditional method is paper drawings. Good question. It's actually monitored virtually. You have a lot of online viewers, you have cloud collaboration or connected BIM where markups and that can be pushed directly to the person that's involved. So it's with the correct processes, it becomes like 99.999% paperless, okay? All of that is tracked when we have what we call a digital footprint or digital trail of it. So very good question. You can go paperless with it. Whether it's realistic in our context, debatable, but definitely achievable. Okay, I see a lot of you are asking me questions that are on the slide that I currently have in terms of training and like advice, which is cool. So please, again, make reference to that. How difficult is it to transform an existing city estate to a smart city? The difficulty lies in what data you have and what you're working from. The more that you have, the better it is, and the smarter you will achieve that goal. Also, it looks at your budget, what resources you have from a IoT perspective, those type of things. Okay. Who draws the 3D models? Engineers or tech designers, draftsmen? It can be anyone, right? Traditionally, it's normally done by draftsmen, okay? And what this affords the engineer is because there are a lot of intelligent tools built into it, it makes the checking of the drawings that much more better, streamlined from the engineer's perspective. So it can be anyone. So whatever your role is, you can do it. Of course, if you have to sign off the drawing, you have to be an engineer and you have to be professionally registered with EXA in our country. Is internet connectivity, speed and data a barrier to fully embracing BIM in South Africa? It is a myth, right? Look, if you're going cloud computing, you definitely need a decent internet connection, but it's not like massive. Like you don't have to have your own room that's channeling internet connectivity or something like that. Some people exaggerate this to an extreme, but you definitely can use it. Internet does play a factor, but it's not as much as you're making out here in your text, right? So if you're incorporating cloud connectivity and a common data environment that's located in the cloud, you do need like a decent internet connection. If you're working on yourself, I mean, depending on the size of models, what you're uploading there, speak to your internet provider. They'll actually give you that. But most of these actually have these specs online that you can check before you adopt them. So even check that out. Okay, let's see. Okay, what do you recommend when you as a consultant use BIM, but the client and other stakeholders, contractor in brackets, in the project are stuck in the past? You invite them to events like this, right? So that at least you can change their perceptions a little bit. Look, I've faced that quite a bit. The only way is to keep educating and putting it out there. The more that you have it, the more you put it out there, the more people are aware of it, the more they can see in it, the more they can be educated on it, and they can make a much more informed decision. So that is the whole purpose of today. Okay, so if you know someone that you are grappling that with, once a recording is up and we share it on our platforms, please share it with them and make them have a watch. Would it not be cheaper to use 2D CAD models for smaller scale projects? And the examples you got here are short access road design and using something like BIM. So first of all, when you're doing roads, 2D CAD is a no-go. We'll leave you with this question: how would you get the elevation data from that? And if there had to be a change in the alignment, a shift in vertical or horizontal positioning, how would you accommodate that? So you have to think of your engineering applications there. Will this presentation be made available for discussion with others in the firm? Like we said, the recording will be uploaded to our Baker Baynes YouTube channel. I will also share it on LinkedIn. Saisi will share it on LinkedIn. Our Baker Baynes will share it on all of our platforms, and you will have access to watch it at your leisure. Okay, are there any public clients in South Africa who have started embracing BIM and specifying it intended? Not yet. It's something that we are trying to push towards or gravitate towards, because for enhanced civil infrastructure delivery, but there has been some talks. Okay, so let's just hope for the best and see how it goes. I think this one is from someone that's quite seasoned in industry. Mind-boggling stuff. Some of us graduated using slide rulers and still struggle to use a PC. We understand, but I mean, experience is a wealth of knowledge, and if you can combine it with innovation, that's a winning recipe, right? So I'm glad that you found it useful. And how do we ever get on board? Is to take the first step, acknowledging it and seeing it as it is, like what I've put forward to you today, and then just also again reaching out to us, and we can actually help you with it. Is BIM helpful to gain a profit? I think I did touch on this. I showed you being more profitable in terms of the presentation. With the correct processes, you're going to save on time, costs, and retention of staff. How often transitioning from 2D to 3D happens in South Africa? It's picking up quite a bit. Okay. How are the old projects accepting to upgrade to BIM or IT digitalization? Now, if you have the data, you can bring it into a BIM environment, model it accordingly, but you would need to add what we call object data tables or metadata to that, because generally both those data is currently like in 2D format, and yeah, you would need to add it, and then IoT will come in if there is a requirement. I mean, if you have a huge development, or like if you look at a lot of these new smart cities, real estate, fancy developments are coming up, they are all founded or pushing IoT, because from a maintenance perspective, it is the way to go. Would you be able to do parametric modeling with BIM? Yeah, 100%. That is one of the brilliance of that, and that's why it was predominantly adopted majority by architects, because of its parametric nature. Right? We can also use it in civil infrastructure. For example, I could model a bridge that is parametric, and I can do the piers, the caps, all of those type of things. and it will adjust intelligently, right? So definitely you can. Can a consultant sell a schedule to a construction company if they were only appointed after the engineering has been done? That's a tricky one. I don't think you can, because if the works has been done, it has been handed over and it has been signed off. Depending on your clause of contract, you might have to check that out, or maybe check it out in the GCC. Maybe it might have some idea to point you in there. Legislation still plays a big role in our industry. The 3D plan of the BIM includes the plumbing of that particular city design, correct? So storm, sewer, bulk water, all of those type of things are doable in engineering or in a BIM environment where you would actually do analysis as well, visualization, simulation, all those type of things. How can BIM help in maintenance? I think I covered this in the digital BIM versus digital twinning. That's where I covered this, but it will serve as the basis of using a digital model. And then from there, you could link it to sensors and web-enabled systems. The data collection is an upfront investment cost. How does the average cost for this compare to the overall cost saving? Depending on what data you want to leverage, you need to be very, very specific there, because data collection is quite a broad term. Now, if you're looking at geospatial data, you get some prelim data that's built into the geospatial engine that runs on BIM applications. However, if you need GIS data, you would need to locate a provider here in South Africa, and depending on the extent of that data, it could be free or you would need to pay for it. And that answer lies with them. Can you give a summary of the different levels of BIM? So BIM, you got level 1, level 2, level 3, it's debatable, but that's where you're currently sitting. And those levels have different deliverables attached to them. Very lengthy topic. You can definitely read up on it online, and it's closely, you can actually find it in a lot of the ISO documents. So I would strongly suggest maybe reading onto that. Maybe I can touch on it much more in detail in further presentations, but I think for this evening, it's quite a lengthy answer to give. This is good news. CIDB is already considering to legislate BIM. I did not hear this, but if they are, I would like to have a chat with them and see what they're working on. It will be quite interesting, and it's quite exciting to hear. Okay. Okay, this is quite a long question, so let me summarize it. Well, obviously, it costs more, even using quicker methods like BIM for higher level of detail. No, I disagree with that. What is still the balance of time spent or cost spent on detailing for level of detail for different stages? Now, that question, what happens is, level of detail will be specified in your contract or in your BIM execution plan. Now, it shouldn't cost you anything. And generally, when it comes to level of detail, due to IP restrictions, is normally shrink wrapped, meaning that the design is shrink wrapped, you get the shell of it and it's given. So it doesn't cost you more. So that's a big misconception on your end, but it does save you a lot across the project lifecycle. What do you think of generative design? Do you see it taking off in South Africa? Very, very exciting. Definitely something that we need to look at. That is where intelligence, AI, convergence workflow comes into play, where smarter construction or manufacturing is done. Greatest example is if you look around you, you always see these huge developments coming up in such short time, and they are very fancy and very tech savvy. It's purely because of generative design, prefab construction, and those type of things. I term it Lego construction because it's literally like playing Legos on site or plug and play. So generative design, definitely the way to go. We've also got visual scripting that's incorporated in the civil infrastructure or AEC space. That's very similar to generative design, but I know generative design has a lot of more benefits for the manufacturing, but it's closely related now with 4IR with civil infrastructure. How do you standardize the interface between setup in BIM versus the input setup of Internet of Things to interface? You will need to check with an IoT provider because they will need to tell you or see what extent of the model you have. But the base is to have a BIM digital replica of the model. Once you have that, and depending on what you want to monitor via your IoT system, they will advise you as to what type of web-enabled system you will use, the hardware you would need, the dashboard it will feed to, and so on. So that's what you would need to aim at. From a contractor's perspective, how viable is it to integrate BIM technology into my operations without impact on my labor flows? Okay, so I would say from a contractor's perspective, I think for construction management, the cloud is quite good. It will help you to manage your construction team that's much more better, and it will keep you in sync with the consultant. So if you're all added on a cloud common data environment, you could actually manage a lot of different things, check on the progresses, look at a dashboard, have a bird's eye view, do costing, quick RFIs, pictures of site, voice to text recognition. So if you've got construction gloves on, you could actually text it, speak it, it will text it, and you can apply it. And because it's live connected data, people get notifications via email, and you also get apps on it. Yeah, so from construction management, I think that is the way to go. From actual designs, that's what we covered earlier, where you would need to see if the consultant will be able to share with you his digital files so that you could incorporate on your tablet or whatever. What is the best practice to model pipelines? We use Revit for structures, building, etc., but pipeline long sessions seem to be a bit tricky. So you get different types of pipe. So are you talking about building piping or are you talking about civil piping? Different, very different, okay? So if you're talking pipe network civil, you can't do that in that platform. That is more for build environment. If you're going horizontal construction, that's what we call it, then you're definitely gonna need another application for that to do pipe long sections, invert levels, pipe drops, crown versus finish grade level, for example, to check whether it's within a certain minimum cover, those type of things. Definitely can't do that in Revit, but if you're doing building modeling, for building applications, you can do piping. ISO has published 2 standards, ISO 19651 and 2 for BIM standards and management. Is there any drive within the industry to adopt the ISO standards? Yes. What we've seen is a lot of the existing developers or the leaders that have been in BIM, in my opinion, like I said, Esri is for GIS, Autodesk is for BIM. They are linking to align to this ISO standard. So that is why it's always good to keep up to abreast and also invest in a developer or a brand that's actually constantly developing, because they have now controlled their outputs and the common data environments to align much more closer to those 2 documents. So definitely check it out. It's a very good question that you pose, and ISO standards are there and have been linked to our construction or BIM modeling phase. What implication does BIM have on fields like agricultural and environmental engineering? Quite a bit, actually. So if you have I would say in those environments, you would need reality capture in cooperation with BIM, right? It's another very big topic, but you could use that. You could use drone technologies for agriculture. I mean, we use heat sensing depending on the scan density or the drone to monitor livestock to see where it's going based on heat gauges. You could also monitor crops. You could check heat elevation throughout the land, make better, more decisions when it comes to irrigation, routing, those type of things. And also environmental engineering, especially if you're in the mining space, you can monitor slope stabilities. But all of these are like a combination of a lot of different technologies, but it leads towards a like IoT and like smart cities. Like the concept and application of it is quite pertinent to our agriculture as well as environmental engineering. So thank you for bringing that up. I've seen projects where time was spent extra for BIM, but on-site advantage was jeopardized due to limited network access on sites. Okay, so I get this point and I agree with it. Because of this, there are a lot of intelligent tools out there now that support this, where you will still have access to all of the documentation, either on your mobile device or iPad or computer. even though you don't have internet connectivity. So it has an offline feature. Now, what happens is if you have all of those designs and you have it on your device, it will remain offline. You can do your markups, you can do all of your uploading or sending your RFIs, pictures. As soon as you reach a connection, internet connection or signal, it will automatically sync for you. So that's where they're leading into that, because definitely most of the sites, especially when I used to do like roads in Eastern Cape and stuff, definitely there are places where are very remote. So I agree with that one. Did I get to everyone? Let's see. Thank you, Richard, for that. Yeah, we really had to tag team on this. There was quite a long list of it, but I think that should be it. I think we're almost at 7. So yeah, we have a lot to discuss, guys. And of course, if you want to convert to continue this discussion, this curiosity, which I am absolutely in awe of, you, like I said, you could reach out to us. You could check us out on YouTube, because this will be uploaded. You can hear all of your hundreds of questions. And of course, as Baker Baynes, if you want to follow us, our handles, here they are: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Again, just a reminder, this webinar will be uploaded to YouTube. I will post the recording on LinkedIn. We will all share it on our end. Tag wherever you want to comment. The more we build momentum and stuff like this for educating our industry, the more we're going to draw more people. So I'm counting on you guys to get this word out and keep growing it, so that we get more and more people to things like this to change the mind shift. All right, and with that, I think that it is for me. Thank you all so much for your time and for hosting me. I mean, this was really, really amazing. To close out, I'm just going to run a quick poll with 2 questions, and then I'm going to hand over to Kuben to do the closing, and then we can call it quits. So let me launch the poll on my end. So just give me a second. Okay. So here we are. The first poll is launched, right? So please answer honestly. It's going to help us all as an industry. So I'm going to leave this all on the screen. Since there's a lot of us, I'm going to leave it for like almost a minute. So let's see what we get. Great to see the answers filtering through here. Okay, great. Yes, keep them coming. Please be brutally honest, right? Because this is the only way we're going to help our industry. Okay, I'm going to leave it for like another 30 seconds. You guys shouldn't be shy to vote, right? Because you're not unmuting or anything like that. So please let us help you. And like you've seen today in our presentation, data plays a big role in our provision. So okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, I am gonna call this poll here. So I'm going to end it on my end. And just to let you know how it is. Okay, there are still a few votes coming through. So a few more seconds then. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to close it now. And let's see. But the main reason cited here was actually lack of BIM-enabled technology tools, followed by lack of skills, lack of capacity, and unclear of what BIM can do for me, right? So I'll just put it on the screen so you can actually see it for yourself, what the industry is actually telling us. And you are the industry, we are the industry, right? So we need to challenge and see how we can help you with that. All right, so, and the last question for tonight, before I hand over to Kuben for the closing, okay? Go. This is a critical one. I'm hoping for all yeses here, right? But yeah, let's see if you all are paying attention. Okay, so I'll give this about a minute. We are about at 30 seconds right now. Okay, but see, almost everyone has voted, so maybe another 20 seconds or so. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm gonna close it now or end the poll. Let's see what our result was. Okay, so let's share it. I'm very happy with what I see. I just need to deal with that other 3% what's going on. But I'm glad that everyone has aligned to this common vision, because you can actually see how beneficial this is. Okay, and with that, I will gladly hand you over to Kuben to do the closing. Again, thank you all for the opportunity. I'm glad this was very educational and stirred up such a great conversation with our industry. And yeah, we look forward to doing many more in the future. With that, Kuben, over to you.
I've been trying to put my video on, but it's fine. Thank you, Shweb and Baynes. This was quite insightful, and it does set a good platform for further exploration into integrating the BIM processes and digital twinning as well on civil infrastructure projects. I'd like to give one last shout out to our sponsor, Perry. Your support is graciously appreciated. And I thank you again to all attendees for engaging with us this evening. We remain committed to our objective to transform the civil engineering sector through skills and professional development of our members, with a focus on the development and promotion of civil engineering, of the civil engineering profession. Adoption of new technologies. This is a response to one of the questions asked earlier, what SAICI intends on doing and how we intend to address this. And I believe that adoption of new technologies and the related processes will be achieved by taking cognizance of the needs of our members and providing you with support to tackle these challenges you face in the industry by providing relevant content on the latest technological advancements in the sector. And we will make inroads by educating you, our members, through the provision of training and dissemination of information through related electronic computational procedures. We're going to do this through hosting formal and informal meetings, symposia, and webinars involving these subjects. And we aim to accomplish this by partnering with industry leaders like Baker & Baynes and others of note in related technologies, and through constant two-way communication with you as well. SAICI will endeavor to continually provide events with content that is meaningful and relevant to you, our members. So keep an eye out on your email notifications relating to future events. Also, I saw a question about the CPD points. The CPD certificates will be issued to attendees via the email you used during registration. And as Shweb mentioned, you can access this video on YouTube on the Baker Baynes platform, but CSIC will also provide a link to that video as well. With that, again, I thank you all for attending. It's late. It's great to see that you are interested in these things. It's very encouraging. So I bid you well, keep safe, and good night all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuben, and thank you, everyone. Have a great one.